An intense situation occurs, where a woman is being held hostage by a group of dangerous thugs. Out of nowhere, a hero dressed in a clean white suit arrives, looking calm and confident. Without hesitation, he jumps into action, fighting off the entire army of bad guys one by one. His punches and kicks are fast and precise, and no one could stop him. Beside him is his trusted sidekick, who's also wearing the same white suit. Together, the two fight side by side and completely take down the villains. After an epic battle, they finally rescue the woman and save the day. When the hero removes his mask, we see that it's none other than the legendary action star, Chuck Norris himself. His sidekick turns out to be a young teenager named Barry. But suddenly, everything fades away, and Barry wakes up in his classroom. It turns out that the entire heroic battle was just another one of his daydreams. Back in reality, Barry is a quiet, shy boy who struggles with asthma. He often becomes the target of bullying at school, and his classmates make fun of him all the time. The teasing becomes so bad that it triggers one of his asthma attacks. Barry spends most of his time lost in his imagination, where he dreams of being Chuck Norris's partner. In his fantasies, he's strong, fearless, and confident, everything he wishes he could be in real life. He often imagines himself fighting off his bullies and saving people, especially his favorite teacher, Miss Noreen. She's kind and caring, but she's also worried about Barry. She notices that he's always daydreaming and struggling to stay focused in class. After school, she talks with Barry's father, Mr. Gabusi, and together they come up with an idea. They decide to sign Barry up for karate lessons. They hope this will help him stay active, gain confidence, and maybe even learn to defend himself. So they visit a dojo owned by a man named Kelly Stone. However, Kelly turns out to be arrogant and full of himself. He brags about how great he is and even compares himself to Chuck Norris, claiming he's just as good, if not better. He insults every other karate instructor out there and acts like he's the best in the world. Barry and his father immediately realize he's not the right teacher and walk away. Later, Miss Noreen learns about the failed visit. She then remembers that her uncle, Mr. Lee, is coming to the US soon to help in her family's restaurant. Knowing his skills and discipline, she believes he'll be a perfect teacher for Barry. When we finally meet Mr. Lee, he's in a subway station where a man insults him with a racist remark. Calmly, Mr. Lee plays along and cleverly makes the man's jacket catch on fire using one of his tricks. It's clear that he's not someone to mess with. Barry meets Mr. Lee for the first time at the restaurant, where his training begins. Mr. Lee tells Barry that his first task is simple. He has to start walking to school every day. Once he gets used to it, he'll slowly upgrade to running. Mr. Lee wants to build Barry's endurance first because pushing him too hard could trigger his asthma. While they talk in the kitchen, Barry's father and Miss Noreen are seen outside having dinner together. Mr. Gabusi lost his wife 10 years ago and has been alone ever since. It's clear that Noreen cares about him and might be developing feelings for him. Their moment is interrupted when a group of thugs storms into the restaurant, causing chaos. Mr. Lee steps outside to deal with them. At first, he pretends to be drunk, but then he suddenly takes down all the thugs with his lightning-fast moves. Barry watches in awe, finally realizing how skilled his new teacher really is. The next day, Barry walks to school as instructed, but soon his imagination takes over again. This time, he dreams that he and Chuck Norris are soldiers on a mission to rescue Miss Noreen from terrorists. They perform wild stunts, dodge bullets, and defeat every enemy in sight before Barry suddenly snaps back to reality. On the way to school, his classmate Lauren offers him a ride, but he politely declines. Lauren knows about his asthma and always looks out for him. In class, the teacher asks a question, but Randy, the popular kid, doesn't know the answer. Barry quietly answers it correctly, embarrassing Randy in front of everyone. Furious, Randy shoves Barry to the ground after class, warning him to stay away from the cool kids. The other students just laugh, and no one stands up for Barry. To make things worse, Randy finds Barry's Chuck Norris magazine and rips it apart, saying that Lauren only talks to Barry because she feels sorry for him. Heartbroken and angry, Barry pours all of his frustration into training. Mr. Lee teaches him basic techniques and pushes him to keep going, even when his asthma makes it hard to breathe. Barry struggles, but he refuses to give up. During gym class, Barry once again gets lost in a daydream. This time, he imagines himself as the little wolf, the loyal assistant to the lone wolf, who is, of course, Chuck Norris. In this fantasy, the two walk into a saloon like cowboys. When evil outlaws start harassing the waitress, played by Miss Noreen, they step in and take them down. Just as Barry is about to enjoy the victory, his gym teacher yells at him for not paying attention. As punishment, Barry is told to climb the rope, something everyone knows he can't do. But this time, Barry shocks the entire class by making it all the way to the top. For the first time, everyone looks at him with respect instead of laughter. After school, Barry walks home with Lauren. Along the way, he gathers the courage to tell her that he likes her. Unfortunately, Lauren gently tells him that she only sees him as a friend. Hearing this crushes Barry's heart. He runs home, upset, and soon after, he has a severe asthma attack. In the middle of his attack, he falls into another dream. This time, his gym teacher appears as a villain who's trying to strangle him with chains. When Barry wakes up, he finds himself in an ambulance being rushed to the hospital. Mr. Lee and Miss Noreen visit him to make sure he's okay. The doctor says his lungs are fine, which makes the attack a mystery. Mr. Lee, however, seems to understand the real problem. He applies a special herbal ointment to Barry's chest and gives him a strange medicine to drink several times a day. Over time, the treatment works, Barry's breathing improves, and his stamina gets better. Soon, Barry feels so healthy that he wants to join gym class again. The teacher hesitates at first, afraid Barry might get sick, but Barry insists. Eventually, he's allowed to participate. One day, while everyone is at the restaurant, Miss Noreen shows off her own karate skills. She's surprisingly good, having trained since childhood. Mr. Debussy is impressed, and when they're alone, she even teaches him a few moves. Their connection grows stronger, though they both try not to show it too much. Later, Mr. Lee talks to Barry about his daydreams. He advises Barry to learn to control them. If you can focus your imagination, Lee says, your dreams will become stronger, and maybe one day, they'll even become real. As time goes on, Barry becomes much stronger and more confident. During training, he even manages to land a few strong hits on Mr. Lee, proving how much he's improved. Mr. Lee also notices that Barry no longer needs his inhaler as often, a clear sign that his endurance has grown. At school, however, no one knows about his progress. When Randy tries to bully him again, Barry finally stands up for himself. He throws back insults and refuses to back down. Randy attacks him, but this time, Barry fights back, and surprisingly, he holds his ground. The two get into a serious fight until the gym teacher steps and stops them. Later that day, Lauren approaches Barry and compliments him on his courage. She even asks him out on a date to the zoo that weekend. Barry happily agrees, forgetting how she once rejected him. That night, Barry drifts into another fantasy. In this dream, he and Chuck Norris are raiding a secret drug warehouse. The villains have captured Miss Noreen, who betrayed their gang. The criminals are hiding drugs inside colorful piñatas. Suddenly, there's a massive explosion. Chuck Norris bursts through the wall, ready to fight. But before the enemies can react, another explosion follows. This time, it's Barry making his dramatic entrance. A huge shootout breaks out, and to everyone's surprise, Barry takes down more bad guys than Chuck himself. His bravery and confidence even amaze the legendary hero. After the fight, they go to rescue Noreen. But when Barry sees her face, she's no longer Noreen. She's Lauren. Chuck looks at Barry with a surprised expression and asks, "How is this even possible?" Barry smiles proudly and tells him, "Because this is my dream, and I'm the main character in it." For the first time, Barry realizes that he's learned how to control his imagination. Instead of being trapped in random daydreams, he can now shape them exactly the way he wants. It shows how much he has grown, not just in strength, but in confidence and control over his own mind. The next day at school, Barry's newfound confidence is tested. Randy, the school bully, comes up to him with a smirk and challenges him to an official fight in an upcoming karate tournament. At first, Barry feels unsure. He's trained hard, but deep down he still doubts himself. However, when Mr. Lee encourages him, reminding him how far he's come, Barry finally decides to accept the challenge. From that moment on, Barry trains harder than ever before. Every day, he pushes his limits, practicing his moves again and again. Before, his training was all about building endurance and controlling his asthma. But now, it's different. Now he's training to fight, to defend himself, and to prove that he's no longer the same weak kid everyone used to pick on. Finally, the big day of the karate tournament arrives. The venue is packed with cheering crowds, and the sound of excitement fills the air. Surprisingly, Barry isn't nervous at all. He feels calm and ready. Mr. Lee tells him to relax and enjoy the tournament's opening performances before his match. While Barry is watching the demonstrations, Miss Noreen goes to register their team's name for the competition. But when she looks at the form, she realizes there's a problem. Each team must have 4 members, and they only have 3, Barry, Noreen, and Mr. Lee. She tries to convince the organizers to make an exception, but the rules are strict. They can't compete without a 4th teammate. As Noreen and Lee talk about how disappointed Barry will be, they overhear a group of girls excitedly talking about someone famous, Chuck Norris. To their surprise, they find out that Chuck himself is attending the tournament as a special guest and karate champion. Lee's eyes light up as he suddenly gets an idea. Without wasting a second, he runs to find Chuck. Meanwhile, Chuck runs into Kelly Stone, the same arrogant dojo owner that Barry and his father met earlier. As usual, Stone starts bragging and mocks Chuck, calling him a coward for not joining tournaments anymore. He claims that if they were to face each other today, he'd easily win. Chuck stays calm, but it's clear that Stone's arrogance hasn't changed one bit. At the same time, Lee approaches Chuck and tries to convince him to join their team. Noreen thinks it's a ridiculous idea. After all, why would a superstar like Chuck Norris join a small local team? But Lee insists, saying it's worth a try. Noreen finally agrees to talk to him herself. Back in the arena, Barry is sitting quietly, watching the karate demonstrations. Suddenly, he turns his head and freezes in shock. Sitting right next to him is his idol, Chuck Norris himself. Barry can't believe his eyes. Chuck smiles and greets him kindly. Barry stutters, barely able to say a word, completely starstruck. Then, to his absolute surprise, Chuck asks him to join hands and compete together in the next round. Barry's dream has literally come true. Without thinking twice, he eagerly says yes. The competition begins. For the first event, Miss Noreen steps onto the stage to perform her karate demonstration. She moves gracefully and powerfully, impressing everyone in the audience. In the end, she wins 2nd place, a solid start for their team. Next is the brick-breaking round. Mr. Lee walks up to the platform and calmly asks the judges to add 1 more brick to the pile. The crowd gasps. No one believes that an older man like him can pull this off. But when he strikes, the entire stack shatters into pieces. The audience erupts in cheers, amazed at his strength and skill. Then comes the nunchaku demonstration. Barry steps forward, clearly nervous. He takes a deep breath and starts his performance. At first, his moves are shaky, but then he slips into his dream world again. In his imagination, he's performing perfectly, spinning and flipping the nunchaku with incredible precision. When he comes back to reality, he realizes he's actually doing it for real. The crowd goes wild as Barry ends his routine with confidence and style. Next, it's time for Chuck Norris to face Kelly Stone. The moment Stone steps onto the mat, his arrogance fills the room. But when the match begins, Chuck easily dominates. Every punch and kick from Chuck lands perfectly, while Stone's attacks miss completely. The audience can see the clear difference between a true master and a loudmouth pretender. Finally, Chuck finishes the match with a powerful strike that sends Stone crashing down, leaving him completely humiliated. By the end of the rounds, both teams are tied with 36 points each. The final result will be decided by a tiebreaker, a brick-breaking challenge between Barry and his rival, Randy. Randy goes first. He swings hard and manages to break some bricks, but not all of them. He looks nervous and frustrated. Then it's Barry's turn. Before he begins, Mr. Lee walks up to him and quietly says, "Remember everything I've taught you. Focus your mind. Gather all your energy in one strike." Barry closes his eyes, takes a deep breath, and channels all his focus and strength into the moment. Then with a powerful yell, he slams his hand down and shatters the entire stack in one clean blow. The crowd explodes and cheers as Barry's team is declared the winner. In the final scene, Barry and Chuck are standing together, smiling and talking about the tournament. Barry thanks his hero for believing in him and helping make his dream come true. Chuck tells him that the real strength was always inside him. He just needed to believe in himself. For the first time, Barry feels complete. Sidekick's movie ends with Barry, who no longer hides in his fantasies, because finally, he has turned his dream into reality. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notification so you don't miss the latest recaps.